How about new?
And we're live. Happy Easter, everybody. Welcome to the Meat of the Matter podcast, where we meet, you matter. We do this live every Sunday on our YouTube channels. That's the Dutch Carnivore. He is Mark of Fitness Beyond Time. I am Tony Stewart, coach. Welcome all. Happy Easter. And today we got a few things lined up to talk about, and we'll just kick it off with some, we're gonna get into the nutrition space as far as doctors go, and what we think and why carnivore works and why maybe you should try it. And we'll just run this and we'll see where it goes.
If food heals, why aren't doctors taught about it?
Everybody knows that doctors don't get any really meaningful education about nutrition.
Nutrition is really something that maybe you get 1 hour, maybe you get 2 hours.
Nutrition in the 1970s in my medical school was very, very limited.
I really still feel that it's nearly criminal.
There really haven't been many opportunities to discuss nutrition in depth because the topic only comes up in passing.
Maybe they assumed that we knew.
The average physician in this country has less than 20 minutes of nutrition training, period.
Nobody teaches you anything about nutrition in medical school.
What I was taught was nobody changes their diet anyway, so just, do what you can.
I hate to say it, but your physician probably knows less about nutrition than you do.
We're taught to treat diseases after they occur. We're not taught how to prevent them in the first place.
If food heals,
that's kind of where I wanted to take this one today, guys. We know now, it's obvious, a lot of the doctors that we follow and trust, especially online in the carnivore community, in the low carb space in general, nutrition training doesn't exist. Like, they get maybe 20 minutes is pretty low, but they get 19 hours. I know from being in nutrition school, studying to be a nutritionist, that, not only did I disagree with almost everything that I was taught as far as the nutrition side of things went, that seems to be the case. And then, we're going to throw in another curveball where not only do they not talk about nutrition, but when you get medicated, these prescription drugs, they don't talk about the possible nutrient deficiencies or the problems with competing nutrients. And I think this is a really big issue that's not discussed enough, and we just get told. So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, 100%. Like, this is the biggest issue. I mean, you only need to look back when we went through COVID. Like, everybody was getting a prescription over the phone. These doctors weren't even looking after these people. So anybody who was out there that was medically ill, they had to ring up the doctor or ring up the reception, and you were looked after over the phone. So these guys were actually sending you out medication without even looking at you, without even looking at you in person. It was absolutely incredible. And nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. And I've actually had this conversation with the doctors 2 years ago, or when my parents passed away. I was like, listen, why don't you guys know more about nutrition? Why are you feeding these people more medication when clearly you can see that you're feeding them wrong, and you're filling them up with medication? It's so wrong. It really is.
And just because we have to mention this, we're not doctors, we're not scientists. This is not medical advice, but we feel that, being three of us in this space, Peter being a type 1 diabetic, if he was listening to the doctors, Peter, where would you be at right now?
Oh, it would be disaster. And doctors basically only learn about the basic concepts of nutrition, how digestion works, how insulin works, the basic concepts. And then I think most of the things that they will learn concern what food to give people that are on intensive care, for example, that sort of thing. So in hospital settings, certainly not food as medicine. That's not what you get taught on at university. And my sister, for example, is a radiologist. Well, don't think that she takes any nutrition courses. She will, sure, will have an afternoon of nutrition lectures, but for the rest, of course, they will go directly into their own field and focus on that, and the surgeons as well.
Yeah.
Why would a surgeon know about nutrition? I mean, he should, of course, but in the current system, why would a surgeon need to know it? Because he will just be at the operating table, and he has to spend years and years of education already on that fact. So, yeah, don't think that the surgeon has nutrition knowledge. That's basically it, I think.
And see, I've listened to a few podcasts in the last couple of weeks, and they're all coming from doctors, and every single one of them say the exact same thing when it comes to obesity. Everybody says it's a disease. There's nothing we can do about it. Nothing. There's nothing we can do. This is the reason why they brought out the Ozempic, because they're running out of options. They don't know what to do, and it's just absolutely insane. And it makes it even worse when you hear doctors say, like, listen, okay, forget about the price. You're going to be on these for the rest of your life. There's no talk of like, okay, listen, you're going to be on these for like probably 2 weeks, and then we're going to teach you how to get off them. No, you're been told you're going to be on these for the rest of your life. And I was only listening to a podcast there the other day with Ken Berry. They're trying to prescribe these medications to as young as 6-year-olds.
Yeah.
6-year-olds. It's incredible. It really is incredible.
And it's almost like there is, it's like it's really the system. Like, you can't really blame the doctors because they don't know any better. They're taught and told this way, which is fine. But now what we have is this split of people that are trying to take control of their health, taking their health in their own hands. But what I find mind-blowing is the pushback from the other side saying that's not smart. That's not good to do. When we've seen it, like with our friends, family, clients, impossible things are happening. They're becoming possible, and they're still getting like inundated with this, you calories in, calories out. It's not what you're eating. It's not like, don't be stupid. Don't go carnivore. Carnivore is not sustainable. And, like I fall back on this thing where it's like, okay, maybe not, sure. But when you can't get out of bed and you start to be able to move and get out of bed, how is what you're doing wrong? And I think, like, we can argue all day long if you must be a carnivore or not. I believe it. I believe that human beings, we have a diet, and I think this is the way to go. But what people are doing and the results they're getting, they seem to demonize them. And that's where I have a problem, because this we're seeing it all over our communities where the people are taking it in their own hands, healing these conditions. Like, you just go with.
And what is funny, that is what is really funny is that type 1 diabetes is maybe almost the only disease where doctors actually realize that diet is important, and yet they are still not realizing what they have to do. Really lower the carb contents of the diet, and that's just amazing. But yeah, the solutions are there. You can go to carnivore, low carb diets, but of course, doctors, they think in very general ideas. That's also what you probably do learn at nutrition school or at university, the fact that there is a sort of universal diet that is good for everybody. Just a varied diet with lots of vegetables, legumes, and that sort of things, all based on these population studies. And it sort of assumes that there's an average person everywhere. And of course, that's not the case.
Sorry, go on, Tony. No, go ahead, Tony.
Well, when you're looking at that, like what you're saying, Peter, too, is like, where are you starting from? Are you starting from a sick, diseased place where what got you there, more of what got you there, is it going to heal you? And that's where we don't come from. We come from, everybody's all the same, but you're not. Your life is in a different situation. Whatever is ailing you or whatever the problem is, there's ways to at least put your body in a low inflammatory state and get the healing process going. And if you just look at the amount of nutrients that is in red meat, almost every single time you if you look into what the best source of this is, it's undeniable that most of the stuff is meat, eggs, organ meats, you know, and then they say, but eating that will kill you. So it's crazy. And it's just, it blows my mind how it's right there in front of us, yet they fight so hard to demonize it. Mark,
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the pushback is unbelievable, because like it's unbelievable how we're all told that we need to follow these studies, we need to follow these random trials, but they're not listening to people like us. They're not listening to people that are actually doing it. There's many people out there that are leading the cause. You've got Sean Baker, you've got Bart Kay, you've got Ken Berry. There's so many doctors out there that we should be listening to, that we are listening to, and that's how we all started. We all started from listening.
Lots of doctors with university backgrounds and well-educated doctors. So people should think about this fact that why did these doctors change course all suddenly?
And see, these people have been on TV. Like Ken Berry has been on TV, and they've actually tried to shut him down. They were like,
"Oh, look at you guys." I don't know if you guys remember this. Paul Stelladino was on the doctors. That was insane.
Yeah, same here.
That was absolutely insane. That guy got attacked so hard, and by these people that are, you know, the call to authority fallacy, where they're just saying, "Well, I am this, so I know." And I'm sorry, but when you're looking at your body autonomy and sovereignty of your own body, you try and tell me that I'm doing something wrong when I'm feeling amazing every day. Like, that's just ridiculous.
And those people that were given out to him, these people were overweight.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all.
And if we take it a step further, once the nutrition side falls on its face, because it does, you just have to look at what the nutrients are in meat and fat. But once that falls into place, then they say, you know, oh, it's bad for the world. Like, it's bad for the climate. Cows shouldn't be drinking that much water. And it's just, then they virtue signal, well, this is a better way. So now you have all these arguments coming to fruition against the carnivore way is, you know, we are omnivores. Okay, fine, sure. We are, well, no, we should be plant-based now because it's better for something else outside yourself. Where it just doesn't make sense. You just have to look at complete protein, and meat gives you complete protein. How is a plant-based better? I'm not saying you can't do it.
100%. And I only put up a video an hour ago on TikTok. And this is what it said on the TikTok video, is that in the last 50 years, when we had these factories that were making these foods, we were getting our foods made in labs. We were threatening farmers, trying to close them down. I tried to put this up on TikTok, and I was told, like, listen, if you keep on doing this, we're going to give you a strike. It's unbelievable. So what they're saying is that what I'm saying is that we should be eating our food off a farm. But these are saying, like, listen, what you're saying is misinformation. You should be going by what we're saying. And go by, we should be eating food out of a plant farm or that was made in a factory. I mean, when you think about it, it's just crazy. When does it stop?
And not to mention, any farmer historically or generationally knows you cannot grow one crop over and over again on the same land. You need fertilizer. You need to rotate. So anyway, all this subsidized corn, wheat, and soy monocrop agriculture is leading us down to a path of destruction, and they're telling us that it's our fault. And it's unbelievable. Like, it doesn't take rocket science to know this. You know, you just have to have your own local little farm. You know this stuff. You can't do that. You need to enrich the soil. You need to contribute to the ecosystem, the natural cycle of things. And if you want to be green, be self-contained. And I do believe that that's local, seasonal. If you want to eat vegetables and they're local and they're grown with love, so be it. If that's what you want. I mean, it's unbelievable how there's this divide on, it's like, when isn't it all about discourse and debate and talk about it? And why is it always just this stamp of hate? And I know that guy, there was one of the doctors that was in that intro, Neil Barnard. He's pushing all this stuff. He's bought and paid for by these mega companies, and your health is suffering. So when someone comes along with an idea like, hey, look, Peter's got type 1 diabetes and he's thriving, listen to him. That's it. We're not telling you to do anything. I don't, a lot of this stuff has been trial and error, and I'm just riding it, man. Like this, it'll be 4 years. I've been doing this for 4 years in May, and I'm still learning,
alive,
trying, and I'm alive. Yeah. So, I mean, you can take from all the studies, you can take from all the science, but you need to inject some rational, critical thinking, logic, and see what happens. And I think a lot of people, they either get scared off the ledge because they try it, things start changing. Either they have a little bit of stuff going on downstairs, their energy's not quite, so it gets a little freaky. Then they hear all this stuff, and it's like, oh no, this is bad. You haven't given it enough time. Getting through that adjustment phase is everything.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I think finding out why you're doing this, like, if you eat meat and you like meat and you enjoy it, just try it. You know what? When you cut out things, and that gets into a couple of our other topics today, is, they prescribe drugs, and maybe we'll just let this guy talk, and then we'll get back into this.
So you run out of the essential nutrients your body needs, then something breaks. So you go to the only medicine that your insurance pays for, which is allopathic MD-directed medicine. The doctors don't know anything about medical nutrition. They don't believe that the body can cure itself, so they give you a drug that manages the problem. The drug, in its working in the human body, also burns through nutrients. So after 6 months or a year, the drug stops working, or they need to increase its potency, or they need to give you a second or a third drug. And then you get worse, and then you need another drug, and then it gets worse, and then you need surgery, and then you get a secondary infection from the surgery, and then you need another drug for that, and then you die. And then your relatives are so grief-stricken that they organize a 5K run on your behalf to come up with a cure for stomach cancer. And who do they give the money to? The people that failed you in the first place.
100%.
That
100%.
is so crazy when you think about this situation, and it's over and over and over again.
And it's incredibly annoying. It really is. It's so frustrating.
And if you look at, just like, for instance, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, listen to him. He should be a household name. His ideas, his theories, his practice includes what you do with cancer. It's changing your diet and lifestyle in according to what your cancer strategy is. Why isn't everybody talking about it? Why doesn't everybody know it? It's unbelievable. And the results he's having, and he's getting blacklisted. It's really sad. And I mean, we've all had people that everybody's had somebody that's affected by cancer in some way, shape, or form. And it's wild.
It all goes back to Otto Warburg.
Yes.
The role of sugar. He even got the Nobel Prize for it, for his research on how cancer cells feed on sugar. So somehow this has been forgotten, and we now shifted to genetics and that sort of things.
And like that's the thing. And if you talk to somebody like say, I understand. I mean, I am not minimizing this. You get the news or something's wrong, and your cancer's in your life in some way. It's hard to trust anything except that doctor telling you what is or isn't. And is it not worth a shot to look into diet and lifestyle? Listen to what this guy's saying, or, and they're starting to, but they're just up against a big financial brick wall with all the pharmaceutical companies and the standard of care. And it's quite tragic, and it's scary.
Yeah, we should be all in a situation where we have the power to control our own destiny. That's what we should be all thriving for. We should never be in the hands of somebody else when it comes to your own health. You should be trying to focus on yourself first and see what you can do, and then you can look at other options. But if you do that and tick those boxes, you should have no issues living for a long, healthy life, in my opinion.
Yeah, no kidding, man. And it's it's really hard to start, like, quite often when I'm talking to people about this way, they're like, oh, I don't need to do that. There's nothing I need to do here. It's all good. And then they get desperate, and then they get sick, and then they start grasping at straws. And by that time, that fear snowball is so big. What are you supposed to do? Put your faith in food? That sounds ridiculous.
But isn't it unfortunate that we have to wait until that happens?
Yes. And I mean, I'm lucky in my context, in my journey, my path. I had that argument with the doctor about diabetes, and I was stubborn. I'm not going to lie. It was my stubbornness and my refusal to believe something that led me here. And if I was scared, it would have been a different story. I would have been a vegan. I would have been probably,
Yeah, but it's funny, right? It's a matter of awareness, because people are walking around for decades sometimes with this big beer belly, and they are not aware of it. They are not scared of it. By now, if I would develop such a thing, I mean, would be impossible, because I would realize much earlier that I'm starting to develop fatty liver and all these things. But I would be scared as hell if I have like 10 or 20 kilos hanging here below my belly. And people don't realize it, because everywhere, if you walk in a supermarket, you see everybody walking like this. Also politicians. We have a famous politician here. He's also on GLP-1 agonists, and he was he was a big fat guy, and you see it everywhere. Also, successful people are like that, and that's the tricky thing. So it looks like these, and they can even look relatively healthy and be, successful and active in life.
And see that's there's the problem right there. The problem is when someone sees someone lose weight, automatically in their head they're saying that person is healthy. So that's all they're looking at. So that politician that you're talking about, they're looking at the politician and they're saying, right, okay, 4 months ago he was obese. Now 4 months later he's lost the weight. Surely he's a lot healthier. But if you realize,
if you know about the Ozempic phase, you can really recognize it in this politician.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And then you have no idea what his habits are like when you go home. You don't know whether he's still drinking alcohol, whether he's still eating crap food. You have no idea. And then fatty liver disease is something that you just can't see. Fat is something you just cannot see. So this is what we should be focusing on.
And here's the hint: non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is a thing. So why does it exist? If you're getting the same disease as an alcoholic, what's going on? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know there's something in the modern way, because non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is now happening to kids. So if they're having alcoholic livers before they're 12 years old, maybe it's something that you're doing. Let's look at it. Maybe it's sugar. Maybe it's fructose. And then people come on and say fructose is okay. Well, it's context. You might be metabolically flexible. You might be able to deal with it. But that's not just for everyone. And that's the problem is
it's probably just a problem, the fructose, when you are in an energy surplus, more or less. So if you are very active, you probably can get away with it with the fructose. I mean, not that it's good still, but
if you're an athlete and you play some sort of sport, then your body can get away with that. But for 90% of the world who have active jobs and they have long jobs and they've got stressful days, you cannot get away with that. So you need to stop this mindset that what other people are doing. Same with bodybuilders. Bodybuilders live in the gym. They have, this is what their life is. They can sleep, they can train, they can do whatever they want. And this is the narrative. People are looking at bodybuilders and saying, like, if I want to be healthy, I need to train and do the exact same as what a bodybuilder does. But in my opinion, training the way a bodybuilder trains and eats is very, very unhealthy, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and in context, like if you we've all done this, and everybody here has probably had this experience where you're in a gym, you're working out for a year or two at the same gym. You look at people on hours on the treadmill, hours on the elliptical, hours on the Stairmaster. Their bodies don't change.
Mm-hmm.
Something's going on. So, we can argue cardio, excessive cardio, but you can also, all of us physically have changed when we started eating what we call a proper human diet. My genetics, it changes. Everything about me now is different than it was 10 years ago because my body's responding to my diet. Simple.
And can I just add to that as well, Tony? How come that when we're eating this way, we're actually doing less? So we're doing less. We're doing less training. We're doing less movement, and not only do we look better, we're just feeling so much better. We're not waking up in the morning where we struggle to get up out of bed. We're bouncing up out of bed. Like we have more energy throughout the whole day. We're more alert. Our mental alertness is on point. We don't struggle with mental health issues anymore. Like it's just the list goes on and on and on. Whereas, but when you eat the standard American diet or the standard European diet, this is what you see. You struggle with many of these things, and this is why people feel like they have to go to the gym because they feel pressurized when they eat the food. They don't have that good relationship with food. You can clearly see. I seen it all over Facebook today. Everybody's having a great time. Everybody's been eating Easter eggs all day. I can guarantee you, the minute they wake up tomorrow, the guilt that every one of them are going to be in the gym. Every one of them.
Yeah. Well, that's it, right? Monday's guilt day, right? Always in every gym. It's always busiest on Monday. Fridays.
The gyms are going to be packed when you say first thing tomorrow because of the guilt today.
And it's like when the thing that I find fascinating is the brain fog. I will say, arguably, the most important factor that's changed in my life is my ability to think, my ability to be focused, my ability to just think with discernment outside the box. And that was not this. It's obvious that my diet is a big factor in that. It's obvious. And I just wanted to say before we continue, please help us out, guys. Like, subscribe, ask a question. If anybody wants to leave a comment, we'll address it. Right now, we're talking about the dangers of the standard diet, really. And quite often we get told, broken. Your disease is your genetics. It's your fault, or your body's fault. There's nothing you can do. It's unlucky, which I am now completely against that. I think there is always something you can do, and healing starts somewhere. And it's what you can control the most is your food. Well, there's an argument there, but putting something that's benefiting your body will start the process. And, you can argue all you want. The damage you're doing with all this processed garbage and the chemicals, which we're going to get into in a little bit too, these chemicals are doing damage. They are 100%, whether it's glyphosate, whether it's TSP we talked about, BHT, all these, they are doing damage. Whether it's heavy metals, your best, you can mitigate some of this damage by giving your body a chance to heal. And that's, I think, what the magic of this carnivore, animal-based way is it starts that. And it's something that you can actually control. And if you can't stop eating this crap and garbage and sugar, why do you think that is? These are so far from natural. It's because they've led us to slaughter. They've led us there. And they're giving us, the food pyramid. It's okay.
And see, this is the biggest problem I have as well. When people talk about sugar is not addictive, how can people convince other people that it's not addictive? Studies have been shown that this is more powerful than cocaine. It's pretty simple. Like if you cannot give it up, if you're thinking about sugar at the weekends, guys, you have an addiction. That's called an addiction. Simple. If you're going Monday to Friday and you're eating healthy, and then you cannot wait to have your cheat meal at the weekend, I'm sorry, but you need to understand what that is. If you're eating every couple of hours, you need to understand why that's happening. And this is the problem. Nobody's telling you this. Nobody's telling you why you have food addiction, why you have a sugar addiction, why food noise is so big at the moment, why Ozempic is so popular at the moment, and why Ozempic cuts that off. Because this is the problem. We're focusing on hormones, and that's what these drugs do. These drugs control hormones, but we can actually do this through our food. It's very, very simple. We eat the food that keeps our insulin levels low and keeps your leptin high. It's not rocket science. And how you do that is by implementing more protein and more fat into your diet, and you eliminate the main problem, and that comes from carbohydrates. It doesn't make a difference it doesn't matter what carbohydrates you're taking in, guys. We only spoke about this the other day. If you're eating vegetables, it's still the exact same thing. It's a carbohydrate.
Yeah, I'll tell you that I experienced a little bit the same as Tony told about the last episode, and I started drinking dairy, for example, and also eating an occasional piece of fruit, still very little, but I also noticed that it's very tempting to consume more of it. And now I'm also starting a more active lifestyle because summer is coming. So today I went on the bike for an hour, so it becomes easier again. But it's a slippery slope. It's still very easy to start consuming more, and that's the basic idea of an addiction, right? If you cannot control the amount that you're eating, if you cannot go without, it's very simple. And there are also a lot of influencers and doctors that to some degree realize that it's like this also for sugar, and still they are saying like, yeah, you should not exclude sugar all the way, because then they always come up with this idea that at some point later on you'll get cravings and you'll eat more and more of it. So just keep it in your diet a little bit and moderate it. And it doesn't work like that with an addiction. I mean, some people might be able to do it like this. I don't think I was ever really strongly addicted to, for example, sugar. I didn't have a sugar tooth, but for me, I know it wouldn't work. Really, and including a thing like dairy now, that's sort of the limit. I mean, dairy on itself is also addictive. I like cheese, but in terms of sugar, it's sort of manageable. But if I would go further, no, definitely not.
Well, there's something that you said there, Peter, too, where you know, if you understand cheese can act like morphine, which is you know, on your receptors in your cells. That can be very. What do you think? You know, morphine, opioids are all relatively the same in different strengths. Cheese acts on that pathway, which can be addictive. And people have to watch, because some people jump into the carnivore thing and it's like, oh yeah, I can eat cheese, and their diet becomes cheese, and that can be, you know, that can be very gray.
And I think the people that can deal with the cheese in terms of addiction probably have another addiction. Because I think it's very likely that everybody has some sort of addiction somewhere, because you need it to, I mean, you don't really need it, of course, but it's the coping mechanism for stress, basically, to escape from situations that you don't like.
Yeah. And then, and you know, that leads us to fasting as well, because I mean, it's my opinion that labeling a fast is kind of, you know, fine. It can work for some people, but if you hear most people talk about this, they're like, oh, I didn't eat for 16 hours. Like it's something amazing that's like, wow. And then people react and go, what? You don't eat for 16 hours? To me, I don't even think about that. I don't even I don't care. Like it doesn't even matter. And if you're coming from that sugar addicted, you know, hypoglycemic, hangry aspect, 16 hours is a lifetime. So just talking about intermittent fasting, like you're supposed to suffer through it.
Yeah,
it's not good either. We're not supposed to suffer. It's not supposed to be that way. And I'm not saying don't fast. I think there's a lot of value in it, and I think it's a good little tool but somebody coming from a sugar burner that's like carb addicted, trying to fast for a label like 18-6 or 1 meal a day, you're gonna drive yourself nuts. You're never gonna get fat adapted to that point where it becomes, pushing the time is one thing, but being hungry the whole way. I mean, I can fast for 3 days, and I do it once in a while. I don't really. The only thing that really affects me is I have meal times where I usually eat, and it's kind of like, I should be eating right now, but it's not hunger, and it's not struggling. It just is. But now when people just hear this intermittent fasting, like, don't eat for a while. Good luck somebody eating, drinking juice, eating cereal, eating sandwiches, eating pasta. Good luck. And
see, this is what people need to understand as well. The gut is the second brain, and where does most of the problems come from? It comes from the gut. So if you're eating every couple of hours, first of all, your digestion is going to be all over the place. You're not allowing your digestive system to relax and get back to normal. You're not allowing those insulin levels to drop. This is what leads to metabolic damage. This is what leads to mental health issues. You're just feeding the gut basically crap. This has an impact then on the brain. And this is why people struggle with their overall health. So it's what you feed the gut is more important. And what Tony mentioned about fasting. Fasting is not something magical that we've just heard about. Fasting is just something that just comes along naturally. Like I never thought I could eat 2 meals a day. You're talking to someone that used to eat 8 meals a day. I used to eat 8 meals a day. My last meal would have been an hour before I went to bed, and it would have been all carbohydrates. And the thing with me was I used to eat them in those little containers, and I'd finish one, and automatically half an hour later I was thinking about my next meal. I was never in a situation where I had that food freedom.
Yeah.
Even when I was in college, I was always thinking of food. Always thinking about food. I could never erase it from my memory. I was like, okay, I've had that meal, but I just cannot wait to have my next meal. When I go to bed, I cannot go to bed hungry. I have to have something before I go to bed. And there used to be times where I would wake up in the middle of the night hungry.
I used to wake up and drink a protein shake in the middle of the night because I thought that's what I needed.
I used to blend like a banana just into a protein shake. And I used to think that was healthy. Just don't eat anything. Just drink something. And go back to bed. You're gonna still build muscle. Complete and utter rubbish.
And that's where we get into these boxes where, like, I'm a big believer in just what natural. Like, what would we have done without all this shit? What would we have done without the guidelines? What would we have done without the preservatives and the thing? Like, we would have eaten a lot simpler. And it's a fact that our food is different because you look at the diet in the 20s and 30s, they ate whatever they wanted. There was bread, there was pasta, they were all thin. They all ate probably 3,000 calories a day. Nobody was obese.
And far less variety. I mean, probably also far less vegetables because there weren't the guidelines saying that you need to eat half a pound of vegetables every day and 2 pieces of fruit. So.
It was what was available. I just think our food system was a lot more localized, and it was a lot less, shelf stable, so to speak. And I think that's where it came into it. Like, I mean, it's just gone way out of control. Like, and it's, I've said this before, but anytime we think we're smarter than God and Mother Nature, we get smacked, and we get smacked hard. And then we try and justify it. I'm this, I've done this. It's not working for me. It worked for this guy. I've got to do this harder, suffer more to get these results. And it's actually, from what I've noticed, the exact opposite. Letting go of everything and just focusing on what the body needs, letting the natural cycles come into play. I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but the sun's been out. I've been trying to get out as much as I can in the sun, out for walks. I feel, I would say probably 25-30% better over the last week, just being out in the sun. Yeah. It's changed.
Absolutely.
It's unreal.
On the day itself, you notice it already.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's another thing where when you're eating all these seed oils and vegetable oils, like our fat cells, our lipid, every cell has a lipid bilayer. Every cell is made of fat. So when we're eating a dysfunctional, prone to oxidation, volatile fat in excess, well, the cholesterol problem with vitamin D and the sun absorption, there you go. You're not going to get that whole thing is going to get shut down, because I'll tell you what, I don't burn in the sun anymore. I haven't had a sunburn for 4 or 5 years. And what's changed? Saturated fat in my diet. That's what I think anyway, you know. And it's all anytime we're eating this garbage, our bodies are getting dysfunctional. And then we're saying that, you know, it's unlucky that you're genetically predispositioned for this. And man, food is the answer. And I think, you know, from our perspectives, what we're doing and what we've done, it's screaming from the rooftops. And you know, it's about who's listening. And it's pretty shocking, because someone's always going to have something to say about it, right?
And you made a good point earlier, Tony. I just want to bring it back to what you said about suffering. This is the problem. Many people think that I need to suffer. I need to be in a caloric deficit. I need to train harder. I need to be more disciplined. Like, there's so many other factors people are thinking that I need to get in shape. I need to be more harder on myself. This is what I used to do. I was never in a situation where I was happy with myself. And I think that's the key word. I was never happy. Never. I was never, for over 20 years, I was never in a stage in my life where I was content. I was happy. Whereas in the last 4 years, that's changed. I wake up every day. I love what I say. I love waking up every day now and having a purpose. And just getting out my day and living life. Whereas if you had asked me this question 20 years ago, I just didn't give a shit.
No doubt. And it's probably because your brain is functioning and it's being built back with the right things. You know, like the physiology and the stuff that's going on in our brains, it is so complex, yet it all works more efficiently when it's getting the nourishment that it needs. And, you know, just eat some eggs, choline. Like, it's so important. You know, we have so much exposure to all these dopaminergic things, you know, with social media and, you know, all this stuff is so sensory overload. You know, giving your brain the right stuff is probably a good idea. And that's probably a big reason why, you know, I'm happy too, Mark, like, honestly. And that's something that we take for granted because we don't know what happiness is, or we don't know what this is until you feel it.
Yeah, and see, this is what we need more with mental health. This is what we need to be talking about. We need to be talking about, okay, what's more important? Now, don't get me wrong. The stuff that works, also going for a walk, talking to people, these are all amazing. But they're not going to work, guys, if you're going back and you're feeding yourself crap. And that's where I feel it starts. And as we mentioned from the very, very beginning, none of us are mental health doctors. We're not advocating we're mental health doctors. We're not even advocating we're doctors. We're just saying that what has worked for us. And every one of us, well, I know Tony went through it and I went through it with mental health issues. I'm not sure about Peter, but I struggled with my mental health for a long, long time. I could never figure out what was wrong with me. I was very, very close to saying, right, you know what, I need to be on antidepressants because I just can't handle this. My anxiety was going through the roof. My depression was really, really bad. I had suicidal thoughts on many, many occasions. Many, many occasions. I had no problem leaving this earth. No problem. And I had many, many opportunities to do it. Many, many opportunities to do it. And everybody kept on saying to me, like, listen, just go to the gym, speak to someone. And I was doing this. I was speaking to
but Mark, this is exactly
and it wasn't.
Yeah, I recognize this totally. That people tell you what to do, and you think you do the right thing, and at some point you just get numbed, and you think like it doesn't matter at all. And that's where I arrived at some point, because you did everything, and you think that you are a smart, educated guy. I mean, I mean, within reason. I mean, just a normal guy that does his best, knows his things, and it doesn't work. And you see other people that are more fortunate, that don't have a chronic disease, or they have better genetics, or who knows what. They can have an active life, and that makes you depressed. That sort of things. I mean, I have a similar thoughts like you. I mean, it's not that I would jump from a roof or anything, but you feel like crap. And if they would give me a simple button to press, and I would also be happy to say, like, let's just end this and get rid of all this torture, because that's what it is.
So we're gonna get into write this down. It's good. It's kind of a nice segue. And just before we do that, guys, just thank you very much for being here. We're here live every Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. in the UK and Ireland, and 7 p.m. in Europe and the Netherlands. We appreciate all your support. Please help us like, subscribe, comment, help us push this out there, especially the carnivores. We're trying to get this awareness out to the non-carnivores. So if you know anybody that's on the fence, carnivore curious, we'll call it, or just interested in this way of eating, I think we bring some good value to this whole space, because we're just normal guys, and we're just throwing it all on the table, talking about our experiences and what we have found. Obviously, we appreciate your support. So we're going to get into write that down today, right now, because I think this ties into what we were just talking about.
These guys are getting richer while you're getting sicker. Write that down. 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 These foods are highly processed, complete garbage, and I can promise you now, I wouldn't even give it to my fucking dog. Write that down.
I'm 65. I don't know what illness or tiredness is. I haven't been sick in 40 years. And this 5-place break that I have, I'm out of my cast 2 weeks early. So I have no intention of being crippled by this, when they were telling me I'm going to have arthritis and all these other things. It just doesn't exist in my world, because I've chosen to live in God's pharmacy. We are a self-regenerating organism. We get new cells every 7 years. We get new tissue every 3 months. The body is designed to regenerate itself. But unfortunately, we don't give it the right materials, and we give it too much of the wrong materials. So what happens? We start to age, we start to grow tired, we start to develop symptoms. But once again, these symptoms aren't coming from out here somewhere deciding to attack you or you or you. These symptoms are being developed by our internal environment, the internal environment that we're just not giving what it's supposed to have. All the women in my family died overweight and very young. My mother died at 46, my grandmother died at 50, and my great-grandmother died at 60. So in reality, if you're going to go with what we believe, I shouldn't be around today. We are living in such an age of chemicalization, too. We're taking in chemicals upon chemicals upon chemicals, and we're just expecting the body to accept it. 90% of what you're putting in your body, God didn't intend to go in there. But you still get to get up. You still get to walk around. Unfortunately, not necessarily thriving. But also...
All right,
such a great video, isn't it?
Yeah, there's so much to unpack with that one. I mean, Peter, let's start with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's obvious with the medicine. I mean, I do think that there's a place for medicine, but it's just in the ultimate situations where you don't find other solutions. And yeah, I mean, that's perfectly right what she says about that it doesn't belong there. And yeah, then you get in all the side effects and also the interactive effects with food, like you mentioned already, Tony, and with other medicine as well. And at some point, you make a full circle. You just put more medicines in your body. And at some point, you arrive at a closed circle that you cannot find any other medicines anymore to deal with the original disease and with all the side effects that you probably created. I mean, there are so many medicines, for example, that trigger type 2 diabetes. And yeah, I mean, it's just, if you can avoid it by diet, I mean, why not look into it?
Yeah. Mark?
Yeah, no, when I watched it, it was just I got emotional watching it because it was such a powerful message. This woman is just telling the world, like, listen, I can heal. I've healed my body. I'm in a very, very good place now. She spoke about her family members. She spoke about people that she knows that went through that are not here anymore. And she was trying to just explain to people, like, listen, there's another way. There is another way. You just need to look at it and you need to listen to us. So yeah, it was a great message. It really was.
I mean, there's so much to unpack there. I mean, with me, something that I've been digging into deep lately is the stuff we can't control and the stuff that's thrown into our environment, into our food supply, the chemicals, and it's an uphill battle to say the least. And not to mention everything that's driving us towards more consumption, consuming more of their foods is not good. And we sit here trying to justify all these herbicides and pesticides, trying to prove how safe they are without looking at the possibilities of the damage that they're doing long term. And we just disregard it. And when people like us come along and say, hey, this may be something wrong, maybe a problem here, people say, don't be silly. That's ridiculous. They haven't proven it. Why do we have to prove that these chemicals are poison, that they are poisoning our food, our water, our environment at an exponential rate? And I don't care if you think chemtrails are real or not, just pollution in general is bad enough. You live in a city with a bunch of pollution, with a bunch of tailpipes. I'll tell you what, driving a Tesla isn't going to fix it. There is so many problems with our shit. And when you look at treating these problems with medications, that it's just a revolving cycle, and it doesn't lead us to health. And I think God and Mother Nature know what they're doing, and we need to get as connected as you can to God and Mother Nature, whatever you believe that is. But we should be talking about this. We should be bringing the awareness and not slamming each other, thinking, "Oh, well, that's just ridiculous."
I always have to think about the movie Waterworld. I mean, it's a sort of metaphor, but I think in terms of nutrition and environment and chemicals in it, that we will arrive at a sort of water world, and that's eventually there will be no place where you can get safe nutrition, because also pasture-raised cattle and your eggs, they in the Netherlands right now, the government has recently finished a study, and they showed that in all the eggs in non-professional farmers, there are these PFAs in large concentrations. And the only place where you can still get safe eggs, according to this research, is in controlled environments with roofs on top, and so just big farms. And yeah, you might wonder, of course, the motivation behind all of this, because they probably want to control our food system, the chickens, and they are afraid of the avian flu and that sort of thing. So they probably want to get rid of the individual local, well, not farmers, but let's say I don't know how you call it in English, but the individuals at home that have their chickens and eggs.
They want corporate control, for sure.
Yeah.
And they do it because they think it's good for you. I mean, we've talked about this with raw dairy. Why is raw milk illegal to sell in Canada, yet they will put all of those preservatives, pesticides, chemicals, herbicides in our food supply and say, eat more of it? It does not make sense.
But by the way, the raw milk, the only way that it can go bad is if it's transported and handled in big distribution centers, and the cooling systems don't work, or that sort of stuff. If you buy it locally, it's totally different. Do regular checkups of your milking systems and containers and all that stuff. But
and that leads me to this. We'll just comment on it quickly.
What the actual fuck? What the actual?
So, in case you didn't see that.
What the actual fuck? what the
More than half
actual
of the UK government nutrition advisors are bought and paid for by the same companies that are telling you to eat the shit. It's unbelievable. It's undeniable.
It's crazy.
And
It's absolutely crazy.
if you don't think the shit is going on, all it takes is, 10 minutes and a couple Google searches, and you're going to see how corrupt and manipulative this system is and how it's driving you. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be that, fear mongering, but if you do not start taking responsibility for your awareness and knowledge about your health, it is not going to end well. And I'm sorry, but it's clear. Look at every single disease, non-communicable disease is going up. Every single one, plus all the ones that we never heard of 10 years ago.
And not only that, every food company that you can possibly think of, I can guarantee is sponsored by some athlete, some celebrity, or some famous person. So somebody that you follow, whether it could be a sport person, it could be an athlete, it could be your favorite celebrity, it could be your favorite cartoon character, whatever it is, it's all sponsored. I guarantee somebody is sponsoring.
Yeah, I have two examples of how this is totally backwards. I mean, 2 years ago, I did a sponsor ride on the bike, and there was another cyclist. It was a sponsor ride for cancer treatment, and this guy was sponsored by Monster Energy. So he was drinking these tins of Monster Energy during the ride. But another thing is that literally downstairs, there's a university. It's a very famous university here in the Netherlands. And if you would count the buildings, probably half of it are just corporate buildings of Unilever and Big Dairy. So, I mean, maybe they have some influence there in this university.
Just a little bit, eh? Yeah, no doubt. Well, just want to say shout out to Martin. Welcome back to the way. Welcome back to the Carnivore way. Yes, we've been doing this. I'm 4 years in May. I don't know, Peter, how long you been?
2.5.
2.5 years. Happy Easter. Question from Journey to Health. Hey guys, happy Easter. Feeling that this way of eating is the proper way, but stress has gotten a lot worse since starting. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I want to do it properly. Not sure. It has also. Okay. Well, Mark, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I would say you just haven't done it long enough. That's the problem. You haven't gotten rid of that addiction. That's the issue. You have to allow your body to heal. So that could take a lot longer. I don't know how long you did it for, but some people can do it in 2 months. Some people can do it in 4 months. Some people need a year. So I would say, looking at your message, you probably just didn't do it long enough.
And then he continues, Journey to Health, gotten to the point where I'm worried about adding anything back, whether it be good, veggies, spices, or go to Whole Foods diet without feeling like I'm doing something wrong or erasing any healing. You know what? Like that's true what Mark's saying too. And just remember, like there's a lot of stuff that's going on in your physiology, in the hormones, in the neurotransmitters. Things are going to be starting to rewire, and it could get a little uncomfortable for a while because it's quite often, you got your gut biome that's shifting completely. Your vagus nerve from your gut to your brain is changing all the bacteria. That's your big sensing. I mean, all I would say is, focus on the essential nutrients, your essential fatty acids, amino acids, vitamins, and minerals, and, maybe play around with some different varieties of it. But, like the idea that, that quite often in my experiences, you get a little worse before you get better. So that's usually that washout period where everybody starts to freak out. And, there's nothing worse than vicious diarrhea for a few days, but it still happens to me when I have bone broth. Sometimes it's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the histamine response or something. It's just a shift. If I'm not drinking, the first time I have bone broth, depending, I guess, where the bones are from, I can have diarrhea for a day. And it's a shift. It can happen. So, just the thing is that there's nothing scarier than your brain. And when you're getting stressed and over anxious, but just, focus on the foundations, what you need, and kind of play around.
But I would add to that as well, that if you're stressed, that's going to increase your blood sugar. So if you're really, really stressed, this is where you're going to have those sugar cravings. when your anxiety goes through the roof, this is where you get a blood sugar response. So you need to be in a situation where you need to feed the body exactly what it needs so it can relieve that stress. If you're feeding your body and you still have that addiction, that's what's going to lead to your stress levels going higher. And then when your stress levels go higher, that's when you're going to be craving more sugar. So you need to just give the diet a little bit longer. That's all you need to do, in my opinion.
Also, like you're saying, you're 165 days in currently, 25 days of those on the Lion diet, and it's saying I'm not going to show it, but it says histamine intolerance. We know about that. We'll talk about that in a second. But I want to say about the Lion diet. How is your quality of beef? If your beef isn't the best top-notch quality and you're on the Lion diet, you could be lacking in some essential nutrients. There could be some stuff that you're not getting. The fat might not have as much omega-3s, and omega-3s, the EPAs and DHAs are really, really important for brain function. So, that could be a problem. And then Mark,
I would say with the beef as well, if you're suffering with a histamine issue, change it, because I've seen many people, when they change the beef to lamb, things improve very, very quickly.
Yeah, and that's the histamine thing. And also, if you're craving your mom's homemade bread, that might be a lot of things in there. Because I mean, I still go through the grocery store, and once in a while, I just love the smell of real fresh bread. I love the smell, but it's like you're 165 days in. These are things that we don't. It's uncharted territory on how sugar addicted we are, how carb dependent we are, how fat adapted you are. Can be very, very nuanced. So just give it time. Recognize the cravings, but in my opinion, I wouldn't be bowing to them. If you can, stave them off, because I don't think you're not completely there yet, right? Like you need to give it a little more time. I mean, some of the people I've worked with, they flash back and forth, they cheat, or they kind of go back and forth. They never get a chance to become fully fat adapted. And anybody tells you there's a set amount of time for that is lying, because it can be very different, very nuanced. Well, thanks for all the comments, guys. We really appreciate it. And this is good, Martin. 436, wow. And high blood pressure to gastric sleeve off right away. That's amazing, man. 50, that's great.
That's amazing. Well done.
And that's the stuff that I find it's a kind of a cool like little nuance there with Martin, because a lot of the people that start this for health reasons, and they make it about weight loss, and look at all that stuff that's going on, the CPAP, the pre-diabetic, like these are things that are, it's obviously in this context, it's important to lose some weight, but a lot of people don't. They stop because they're not getting these glory phases, or they're plateauing, which you said then the weight loss stopped. I would say, play around with meal timings and play around with the fat to protein ratio, because from what I've found, anybody that actually gets back to eating like a human, the weight loss comes when the body's ready. If you're given it time, for sure. So, and I mean, I've had clients that have 6 months, they didn't lose a pound. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, bam. And their plateaus sort of happen every few months, because it's your body. Like, we've got so many things that are going on with our nervous systems, our like the stress, the hormones, all that stuff rebalancing. And we're going through phases, and everybody just thinks it's weight loss plateau. There is a lot of stuff going on. And once the body gets calm, safe, it will respond.
Yeah, it can take 2 to 3 years. A lot of things happen also after 2 years, because, also in terms of how you eat your carnivore diet. After 1.5, 2 years, I switched to mostly raw meat, and now I'm eating organs and raw eggs. And you feel totally different on that as well. I'm not here to claim that you should eat raw or anything. I mean, I do think you should not overcook your meat, but just to say that it can change, and you can also discover much later whether maybe a Lion diet is the thing for you, or if you should be on a diet including fish and that sort of things. Yeah, a lot can happen.
To be honest with you, the Lion diet for me, if I'm not eating, I don't feel good if I'm not eating the best quality beef. If I'm having like, the conventional, sometimes obviously I'm waiting for a half cow right now. I shop at Costco. I have to. Canada's going crazy with our economy. I mean, all you guys, we'll talk, maybe we'll do a show about beef prices, but I have to buy the best beef I can afford. Costco is the answer. I don't really know the quality of it, but if I go Lion Diet for 7 days on this, I do not feel as good.
No, especially if you exclude eggs, for example, that makes it much more difficult, and you'll have to at least include things like liver. In my opinion, I mean, if you're on a Lion Diet or have really indeed top-notch meat that is almost raw when you eat it.
Yeah, no doubt. Martin, way to go, man. Lowest weight 260. That's amazing, man. Like, people, just if anybody's listening to this today and sharing this, like, look at that. That's amazing, and that's getting your life back, and I really love it. I'm proud of you. Another thing about the Lion Diet and what I generally say, people on a budget, think about this. Just spend the money on quality fat, because that's where the nutrients are. Like the fat soluble vitamins and the fatty acids are very important. The protein in meat is usually complete and it's good. It's going to be, we can argue that, but I mean, the fat is where is the answer. And usually it's that protein. Everybody tends on the carnivore diet gets enough protein. Usually they'll eat enough protein. It's the fat that matters. And the fat, I spend my money on quality grass-fed butter and quality eggs, because that's the kind of the stuff that I and that's my opinion anyway. All right. And so anyway, we're pushing an hour. Do we want to keep going, boys? What's up? It's Easter.
I can do probably another 5-10 minutes and then I'll have to go.
Peter, let's get into your thing. Let's get into you. We're gonna switch gears, guys, and come from a type 1 diabetic's perspective. You had some stuff to share, Peter. Let's get into it.
Oh yeah, let's go for Cyrus then.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Diabetes is the best thing that ever happened to me. You say that. Are you joking? Are you serious? What's up with that?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. People look at me with 4 eyes when I say that diabetes is the best thing that happened to me, because, I mean, think about it. Your average person living with diabetes, especially type 1 diabetes, just wants to get rid of it, right? I see this all the time in the type 1 diabetes world. The question is like, when is a cure coming? When is the cure coming? Is it cured yet? Can I go get a surgery? Is there a device I can use that will cure it? I want this gone. What is this thing inside of me, right? And then people living with prediabetes and type 2 diabetes, the whole name of the game is reverse, 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 get rid of, eliminate, reverse, right? Now, if there was a magic pill that I could take today that would eliminate type 1 diabetes, I swear to you, I would not take it. I would not take it, because I don't want to get rid of type 1 diabetes. And the reason is simple. Type 1 diabetes is the most educational thing that's ever happened to me.
Okay, you got to stop it here.
I'll pause him here. He is explaining a little bit more after this. So let's give him a little bit of credit, but of course this part
that is so painful to watch. So painful to watch.
This guy, are you fucking kidding me? Like, coming from the type 2 diabetes standpoint, you're an idiot. I don't, like, how many people? Jesus, I don't even know where to start. Like, I've heard. I saw that when he did that. I think Bart K ripped him apart, which rightly so.
Yeah, he's being a salesman for diabetes. I mean, that's just
wow,
unimaginable.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy.
And then he goes on, and there is some truth in what he's saying when it comes to that it's educational. So as a type 1 diabetic, I also have learned a lot. The fact that I got type 1 diabetes, it meant that eventually I reached the carnivore diet. So in that sense, I'm happy, but obviously I would still take the pill to get rid of type 1 diabetes.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, that's
and I would have been happy also to just not have diabetes and then probably be on a standard diet and be sort of moderately healthy.
Yeah, no doubt.
But but anyway, the one thing that you should take away from this video, especially in what he says after this about that you can learn a lot and that you can also improve your health in many ways because you have diabetes is the fact that you can learn exactly what you need also as a healthy person. So yeah, like you said, Tony, a week ago or so, it would be really good for everybody to be a diabetic for 1 week or so. And in a way, you could do that by wearing a CGM and look at what your food is doing, that sort of things. And yes, I have the fortune in I mean, there's one benefit of type 1 diabetes is the fact that I inject my insulin. So I also see how I'm doing in terms of insulin resistance and that sort of things. But yeah, so learn more of it. Also visit channels from diabetics. Look at Beat Diabetes, for example. That's a very good channel on diabetes and how to deal with type 2 actually in particular. And you'll learn a lot about what's healthy in terms of glucose control.
Yeah, and insulin control, right? Like if you're like a type 1, everybody's a type 1 diabetic without injecting insulin. Like that's you just got an automatic insulin pump. So you treat yourself like you do have type 1 diabetes and just, you're just not injecting the insulin. If you follow Peter's advice, you're going to have great glucose control, great insulin control.
Yeah, that's a funny thing, right? I mean, as a type 1 diabetic, I probably have better glucose control and insulin control than, well, at least a part of the population. And then I'm not talking about people with pre-diabetes, but just mainly probably. I'm not talking about diabetics, but mainly people with poor diet. And then
everybody that I
realize what your pancreas is doing at that moment.
Everybody I help goes on a CGM first because I need to know and I want them to see when I start explaining insulin and blood sugar and all that stuff. Putting on a CGM and seeing how this stuff actually affects you is really important because once, like we can talk about insulin resistance and, blood sugar spikes and stuff. But if you don't see it, if you don't know it, you don't understand it, telling you that you have 4 grams of glucose in your blood at all times. And every time, if you have a piece of bread, it's 11 grams of carbohydrate or 11 grams of sugar, spikes your blood. It's easy. You see it. And I would suggest people use it because it's a tool. And ain't it funny how doctors say you don't need it, right? Well, boys, Peter, anything else to add to that?
A lot, too much.
Well, we're gonna do it. We did just so everybody knows while we wind this one up. Really appreciate all the comments, guys. Appreciate Martin and Journey to Health. That's cool. We're doing this live every Sunday. 10 a.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. UK, Ireland, and 7 p.m. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate you in getting involved. Please like and subscribe to the channels and maybe leave a comment on there. I know Mark and Peter love it when you do that. And just wanted to say we are doing a special type 1 diabetes show. We're recording it, so we've got part 1 done. We went into this thing about 25 minutes. 25-minute video took us an hour to get through, like 13 minutes. So it's going to get a little bit more comprehensive. So we're going to give Peter a chance to speak his mind because in my opinion, if you have type 1 diabetes and you do not listen or follow Peter, you are ridiculous because obviously he's living it. So any final thoughts and where can people find you guys? Somebody. Peter?
Yeah, here. And happy Easter, everybody.
Nice. Mark?
Yeah, happy Easter, guys. You can find me on Fitness Beyond Time, and I hope you have a great day.
And yes, you can find me here on this channel or that channel. Tony_Food for Thought on most platforms, and we do appreciate it. Happy Easter. Have a great time. Hopefully you're going to be meat fueled, not the cheating stuff, but make sure your eggs are farm fresh. All right. That's Peter. He's Mark. I'm Tony. We will see you next Sunday.
Speak soon, guys. Bye-bye.